Peggy Flanagan, and I just want to, I'm just so excited to have Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan. Let's bring her on and start this celebration.
Well, bonjour, everybody. Robert and Nancy, I'm really excited to be here with you tonight. I just wanted to say miigwech for this opportunity to be with you. And there's some exciting stuff that's happening right now. And I don't know about you, but I have allowed myself to finally dream a little bit. It's been hard to do this year. But in the last few weeks, I've allowed myself to hope and dream about what is on the other side of the elections. And tonight, hearing from these Native candidates, I think is going to just add to our ability to dream. I wanted to just say a few things. I am not on the ballot this year, but I am making it my business to make sure that we elect more Native candidates in offices all across the state of Minnesota. And shout out to our friends in North Dakota too. As we've been going through, I think what has been one of the most difficult years that we have experienced recently, it has been at times hard to find hope. But I have to say that, my daughter reminded me the other day, she's 7, and she reminded me the other day, she said, "Mommy, we've been through a pandemic before." And she says, "And we're going to get out on the other side." And, our young people are teaching us things every day. And while I don't know that this was what she was thinking about, I know the wisdom and the fact that as Indigenous people, we've been through pandemics, we've been through trauma, we've been through loss, and we've come out resilient and on the other side. And tomorrow we celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day. And so this conversation we're having tonight is really timely, knowing that we are not celebrating the discovery of people who are already here, by a man who we don't even need to mention as part of this conversation, but we are celebrating our resiliency. And as we're talking about campaigns and elections, one of the ways that we can celebrate our resiliency is by voting. I know, and believe you me, I walk into a building for my job in the Capitol as Lieutenant Governor. And when I walk in that building, I take 2 breaths. One breath to acknowledge the responsibility that I have to the people of Minnesota, and another breath, which is a breath of protection, knowing that I am walking into a system that was not created by us or for us or with us, but in many ways was created to eliminate us. But we have to be engaged and involved in the systems that impact our lives. I lost my dad. My dad walked on at the end of January. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that he said to me, he said, and Nancy was buddies with my dad. One of the things he would say to me, he said, "My girl, I want to burn the system down. And you want to get in the system and change it from the inside out. We need both." And I think for me, that is the acknowledgement of, what it means to be a Native candidate running for office and what it means to be a Native person who is casting a ballot. I would argue that our lives are impacted more by decision makers than any other individuals or community or peoples, right? And the federal government, our tribal government, counties and locals. So we deserve to have a say within how that works. The colonial system is the one we've got. And so as we are getting inside and we are changing it from the inside out, that matters. We've seen changes with the Native Women's Caucus in the House, and now we'll have Mary Kunesh-Podien in the Senate repping, and we'll have additional folks like Keeler who are in the House. We've seen what a difference it has made to have our people on the floor speaking for ourselves. And we've seen a difference as we pass the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women's Task Force, as we have Executive Order 1924, which calls for consultation with every state agency. We have a Tribal State Relations Office for the first time ever in the Office of the Governor. And here's the deal. It shouldn't be brand new. It shouldn't be anything revolutionary. It's simply what we should have been doing for the last 162 years. And so that is what is at stake. We have the choice this year between hate and division and fear, or hope, and frankly, reconciliation and opportunities for our voices to be incorporated into the fabric of how we move forward as a state and as a country. And I am here for it. And the number of Native electeds and candidates grows every single year. And we need to be at every table where decisions are being made about us. So I am just so excited for all of the Native candidates. I just want to remind people that Tuesday in Minnesota is the last day to register to vote early. You can also register at the polls, so if you don't get to it by Tuesday, that's okay. But really, make it happen. If you can vote early, if you can vote by mail, you can vote safely, of course, in person. But I usually take my daughter with me to the polls because my mom took me with her. And, we talk about each office, who that person is, what they represent, and why they've earned our vote. And this year it looked a little different. We did it at my kitchen table. But it's important for my daughter to go over those candidates because I want her to know that she matters. And voting is a tradition in my family because as Indigenous people, as an Anishinaabe, as a mom, we deserve to be seen and heard and valued and counted. So I just wanted to say Chi-miigwech to all of the candidates who are running and for all of the folks who have stepped in to this arena that wasn't made by us or for us, but we can reshape with the power of having an Indigenous presence in those spaces and places every day. We are already watching that change happen. And after these elections, I am hopeful for what is yet to come. And just one final note, we also need allies. We need people who get it. I will be voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because that's who I filled out my ballot for, because I need people who, frankly, are going to work with us. And it is time. It is time after 4 years of whatever this hot mess dumpster fire is to finally have some partners in there as we get back, not to normal, because normal wasn't working for us, as we get back to better. That is the opportunity. And in order to get back to better, we need Indigenous and Native voices at the table. So thank you for this opportunity. And I can't wait to hear more from all of the amazing candidates that we have running in Minnesota and in North Dakota. Chi-miigwech, thank you.
Pinagigi, we have a special guest. You might want to say, oh, she just left. Let's put the special guest on right now so we can get going here. Tricia Zunker, who's running for candidate in Wisconsin. INP there, Tricia, nice Pinagigi for being on and good luck. So happy to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to share this virtual space with you this evening. I am across the border in Wisconsin, and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes and congratulate all of the awesome Indigenous candidates in Minnesota and North Dakota for what you are doing. You are running for seats that our direct relatives were not allowed to occupy, and what you are doing is brave and courageous. There isn't a playbook for us. We have trailblazers like Lieutenant Governor Flanagan and Congresswoman Sharice Davids and Deb Haaland, but we don't have that many people in state positions and in federal positions. And so trying to navigate these waters, it's bold and it's overdue, and I just want to commend all of you. And I want to remind you that the children are watching us. So what we are doing now might seem like we are breaking barriers, but our kids can grow up and that we are normalizing it for them. And it's not going to be historic when an Indigenous person wins a seat. And I'm looking forward to those days. And the other thing that I want to thank you so much for, I say Pinagigi and Miigwech, is you running helps turn out the Native vote. And we know what a difference our collective voice can make. we might come from different tribal nations, but we have a shared history and some shared desires. And as Lieutenant Governor Flanagan was saying, we need allies. That's why I also support Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I'm working so hard here in Wisconsin, not just to flip this district blue, but to flip this state blue, because we know how critical Wisconsin is to ensuring a Biden victory. But I just want to thank you, because that Native vote will make a difference in Minnesota. It will make a difference in North Carolina or North Dakota. It will make a difference in Wisconsin. So with that, I do want to say thank you. And I do want to just highlight, I have a little event coming up on Tuesday, and I'd love to invite each and every one of you. It's actually with Lieutenant Governor Flanagan. It's going to be a virtual event, a virtual fundraiser supporting this race in Wisconsin, because it is so critical to flip this district blue and make Wisconsin blue. We'll also have President Shelley Buck of Prairie Island Indian Community. She'll be speaking as well. I'll just put the information in the chat box here. If you were to click on that link, it will give you the information, but it's virtual. You can go to my campaign page and just type my name in, Tricia Zunker, and find the campaign page under events. But it's with Lieutenant Governor Flanagan as our special guest, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I just, again, thanks everybody. Go get them. You know, we're breaking barriers, and thank you, Pinagigi and Miigwech.
Thank you so much for being on, and I'll see you Tuesday. That's going to be a great event.
I will. Thank you.
All right, cool. So Nancy, one of the things that what I'd like you to do before we bring in our next awesome guest, which is totally awesome. This person, I've been trying to get on Native Roots Radio for years. She's been eluding me, but I think you had the secret code, so I'm excited. If you don't mind reading a little bit about what we're doing and how the government works, and then we're going to go into our representative Jamie Becker-Finn. So why don't you and you can introduce her too, Pinagigi.
All right. So because a lot of our relatives are not informed about what these candidates do in their positions and how the government works, I thought I would just share a little information on the layers of government. So government in the United States consists of 3 separate levels: the federal government, the state government, and the local governments. The Constitution, the fundamental legal authority for government in the United States, gives the federal government the power to undertake certain tasks and assigns all other powers to state governments. State governments each establish the local governments within their territory and delegate certain powers to them. And each level of government is divided into 3 branches: the legislative branch, which makes the laws, and then we have the executive branch, which carries out the laws, and then we have the judicial branch, which applies the laws to specific court cases, determines whether someone has broken the law, and evaluates how to make certain that they are legitimate. So yes, there's 3 different layers, and if we inform ourselves what these roles and responsibilities are, we'll understand the importance of why we need to vote for candidates that align with our traditional culture and our values. So again, we have our first guest for tonight, and yes, she's hard to get a hold of because she's busy, and it's Miss Jamie Becker-Finn, and she is currently the Minnesota House Representative for 42B. She grew up and attended school here on Leech Lake and has earned her BA in psychology from the University of Minnesota. And she actually has a really strong background in law, and you know, she has a good voice that she brings to the table for our people, and I'm really proud to have someone like Jamie. So welcome to the show, Jamie, and you're an inspiration just like our last 2 guests.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and glad we could make this work. I've got 2 kids in 1st grade and 4th grade, and the 1st grader starts back in school tomorrow. But voting is so important, and especially for our communities. So like as Nancy mentioned, I currently represent some Ramsey County suburban cities. So I live in the city of Roseville, and as we always remind folks, you know, it's not like our Native communities are just, you know, just in the urban core or just at where our reservations are located. You know, we're everywhere. And we need to turn out the Native vote everywhere across the state, whether it's here in a community like mine in Roseville or the place where I'm from in the Cass Lake area up in Leech Lake. And so, so I'm a Cass Lake Bena graduate and high school graduate. And I grew up on Lake Andrusia in Cass Lake in Beltrami County. And my parents, and especially my dad, they were super active in politics and making sure people were voting and trying to get especially our communities, our tribal communities, excited about voting. So even though I represent a suburban area now, my dad used to bring me along to the 10 Lake Town Hall between Cass Lake and Bemidji. And, it was like one of those little tiny buildings that I don't even think it had a bathroom, barely had had electricity. And that's where we voted. And it just, for my family and for me, it's always been super important. I've been bringing my kids along to vote with me. Actually, my daughter, I brought her to vote in the primary in 2014 in her little baby carrier. So she's been tagging along to vote with me since she was 2 months old. And that's really the example that I'm trying to set for our kids and for our communities, especially for my kids. A lot of times they're the only Native students in their classrooms. And, they're excited about voting because they're making those connections with the policies and the different changes and the things we can do when we, stand up for ourselves and really build those relationships with our allies. So, also want to give a shout out. I think you're having her on later, but we have Dannah Thompson, who is another Ojibwe woman running for city council here in Roseville. And I'm super excited to have her running and her on the ballot. And again, you might have great Native candidates, all over the state, if you're kind of watching out for folks. And I also just wanted to say, to my home community in the Cass Lake and Bemidji area, we need you guys to vote. My first 2 years in office, you were represented by somebody who doesn't care what Native people think. He didn't care about what Native people valued. And it broke my heart that was the guy who was coming to the Capitol, on your behalf. And so we really got to turn out this vote this year, and we got to show them, we're going to show people, we have power when we vote. And, I always say, you're forgetting the Native community there. And that happens a lot, even within the parties that many of us are part of. We really got to stick up for ourselves. And when we all vote, those numbers speak for themselves. And that's power. We are the difference in so many races across the state, especially at the local level and at the legislative level. So super excited to be here tonight. Excited that you guys are doing this and on such a great list of so many Native candidates and especially Native women running for office this year in Minnesota. So Chimigwich.
So Jamie, I just have a quick question to ask you before you go. And really, it's powerful to have you on here tonight. Really, I'm excited when I saw that you were okay to come on. What would you tell a 10-year-old Jamie Becker? What would you tell her now?
That's a tough one. Well, and I was actually I was Jamie Finn.
That's
yeah, I think, and when I think of my son he turns 10 in 2 weeks. And so I always, want to tell our young people that what they do and what they think matters. And when they raise their voices and they are who they are, they should be proud of who they are. And that isn't something you need to shy away from, even if it makes people uncomfortable. Right. I've been making people uncomfortable my whole life. And it's just now in this role as a state legislator that I can really leverage that perspective and that voice to push for change and push for things that make our communities and make our state better. So lean into who you are, even if some people don't like it.
Wow. Perfect. And one thing I want you to be able to do too before you leave is give some information, a website, so we can support you. And I just want to say too, when you were being attacked this last year, we were behind you, and you really did go high. So Peeny, we're really proud of you and what you're going through.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it's just Becker, www.beckerfinn.org, with the hyphen in there. Actually, my husband changed his last name when we got married too, so that's why it's a little confusing. But yeah, we can use all the help we can get, and we really, my campaign is really the heart of turning out the vote in the communities that I represent. We are working hard every single night, calling voters and knocking on doors most years, but calling folks on the phone, and also lifting up candidates like Dannah in our city council and those races to make sure that we can get her across the finish line too.
Well, Peeny Gigi, thank you so much for being on. And I'm going to rebroadcast on my show every week this spot. So you'll be on my show every week.
Awesome.
Radio. So really good to see you. Nancy, any final words to the representative?
Well, again, we really appreciate you being here. And I just want to say I am so inspired by you. And Okichida Kwe is what I think when I see you in action. So again, thank you for being courageous and being our voice where it means the most. So you're an inspiration, and miigwech for coming on. Yeah, miigwech to both of you. Yeah, it was really great to join you tonight. Keep up the good work, all of you.
Oh, Kinigigi. It was awesome. Well, we got to keep rolling here, and I'm really, really excited to have this young warrior on. Heather is going to tell us a little bit about herself, but my goodness, what an articulate, intelligent person we're about to have on. And she's up there in the deep north, close to the border there in Moorhead and that area. But we want to get her on right now and speak her truth. And there she is. Heather Keeler, welcome. Welcome to this awesome symposium. I know you've been on a lot of symposiums with us, so this is old hat for you, but I'm so happy you're on, making voting a tradition. Really speak your truth as you can.
Yeah. Thanks, Robert. Thanks, Nancy, for always inviting me. It's always crazy to follow people like Peggy and Jamie, because they were, they're role models to me. They're heroes to me. When my son's working on this project right now about who his heroes are. And I think for Indigenous populations, they're sisters just like that. And if they're still on, just pilame for all of the things that you've done, and the inspiration that you do for the next generations. Robert, I want to just share a little story, because I don't know that I feel like every time I'm on, I kind of say the same thing. Representation matters. Bring the people with you to vote. That's great. But my dad, Peggy started talking about her dad, and the tears start to come. And so it reminded me that when I was young, my dad used to always tell me, don't do anything that you don't want on the front page of the newspaper. And I think he told me that to keep my butt out of trouble, but I took it more like I want to do the things that make my community really proud. At 10 years old, I'm not sure I knew what that meant or what that meant in my journey. But I never had something like this in my mind. I didn't think I wanted to grow up and be a politician. I definitely never thought I was going to be doing anything on a state level. It's still very surreal to me. I'm just a community member. I'm just a mom. I'm just an Indigenous female, trying to do the best that I can. But about 3 years ago, I was working as a Native American liaison, and we were really pushing to have Indigenous Peoples Day recognized in our school district. And we pushed and pushed, and the answer was always no. We only follow what the city does. We only follow, outside rules. And one thing you'll learn about me, if you haven't already, is I take no and just keep moving. It's not really a no and it ends there. It's a no. And then what do we need to do next? And so I got myself on the Human Rights Commission in town. And the very first meeting, I talked about what we had to do to recognize Indigenous Peoples Day in our community. And then 2 months later, we were sitting in City Hall, and I brought people with me. And that's one thing that I want to say in this process of voting. It's one thing for you to go out and vote. It's another thing to bring people with you. You know, it's great that we're planting the seeds, and I do voting with my kids too. And that's amazing because we're giving them the tools to know that it's important in the future. But 37% of our population in our region who were eligible to vote did not vote. That's a huge population. And so when I passed Indigenous Peoples Day, I brought people with me, and they weren't just Native people. You know, they were people of all walks of life to learn the process, to learn what does city council look like? What does city hall look like? What does, you know, how does this process work for us to create change in our community and in our state? Because I think it's a little bit maybe on purpose that they don't teach people like me how to be involved and how to have a voice and how to step up, because when more of us show up, you know, changes happen. And so I just kind of wanted to share that story for a couple of reasons. One, it's so important to bring people with you in the allyship that we're talking about and making sure that people understand how to support our populations and our communities. But also, you step out of your comfort zone a little bit. And when somebody tells you no, like, never really take that for an answer, and find the inner courage in you and find the inner strength. And, you know, we say that we're resilient because of the generations that came before us. Like, really find that in yourself and step up, because I cannot wait for the day that, you know, we stop talking about only one or two Indigenous candidates running for House, or the only one running for Senate, that like there's multiple of us and it's just expected of us and people are used to seeing us here. So that's kind of where I wanted to go with it. You know, we're down to the wire. We've been calling, we've been sending postcards, we've been writing thank you letters, doing all the things, and we're just so close. But we cannot let up the gas. We have to continue doing the work. We have to reach out to our neighbors, make sure people have rides, make sure people know and understand. You know, there's a lot on the ballot. And so helping people review sample ballots so that they go in and they're knowledgeable about everybody, all the way down to the judges. You know, there's a couple, you know, things that we really need to pay attention to on the ballot in all of our communities. But Robert, Nancy, this is amazing. I love that you do this. You know, we're utilizing this virtual space to really get out and connect with people. And I always love having the opportunity to share this space with you. I also, Robert, is that like a Vikings ribbon shirt? Is that why you're wearing it right now? I'm like,
it makes my eyes pop. No, it's not. I'm not a Viking.
Well, I'm just throwing it out there. But as always, I really appreciate you two, Pilame, to everybody else who's stepping up and stepping out, because our next generations do really see that. And I know that, we're creating a change and creating a path for many to follow and many to rise.
Peeny Gigi, I would like to have you, with the short time you have left, it's right up there, heatherforhouse.com. Thank you, Oglama, for putting that up there. Very slick. And you need help phone banking, and just a quick shout out to that.
Yeah, we can always use help. We're trying out some different times. We're doing Saturdays from 11 to 1. And then just trying to do a couple things throughout the week. And so the best thing is just jump over to my Facebook page. We have all of our events there, but then also on our website. And then in the past, we've also had small groups just offer to host, a list. We can always just send a list of, 100 phone calls if somebody wants to try to get through some in a day, just trying to meet everybody where they're at, rather than, making them join us at the specific times all the time. But anything can help. Social media is big too. So just the plugs on social media actually do really make a difference as well.
Peeny Gigi, for being on, and thank you so much for what you do. I can't wait to see you in St. Paul. Really, this is our pleasure to have you on, and we're so excited to have you. Right, Nance?
Right. She's just like this little powerhouse that just rose from nowhere. And it's another inspiration here. I have a lucky job here to get to meet people like her and hang out with these cool people later and help be at the table and bring our voices. So appreciate you and what you do. So Miigwech for coming on tonight.
Yeah. Also on Tuesday, Robert's joining me on one of my town halls, because we're doing a town hall on protecting Mother Earth. So 6 to 7 on Tuesday. Join us if you can.
Awesome. I'll be there.
Yeah. Bye.
Gigi, thank you so much. Wow, that is so exciting. Nancy, she is just like you said, a powerhouse, and I can't wait until she's in St. Paul making decisions on behalf of our people here in Minnesota.
Right, and she's so, truthful about our collective power. We really need to show up because these women and these, well, there's men too, bring our voices to the table, and they're leading the way. And Peggy Flanagan, Lieutenant Governor, that's history. So
Yeah.
Again, this is a good place to be tonight, and it helps us to make an informed decision. So we're going to hear from more great candidates, Robert, aren't we?
I'm super excited to have this person on because I've gotten to know her the last couple of years being on Native Roots Radio every week, and then also her patience with me destroying her name for probably 2 years. But we are so happy to have this state Senate candidate, House Representative Mary Kunesh, who we just love to have on, and this is a no-brainer. Welcome, Mary. Thank you so much for being on. Go ahead, you're on.
Hi, everybody. Matake Yape. I am currently the state representative for District 41B, which is one of the first circles outside of Minneapolis and St. Paul, and currently running for the Senate seat. My district is the only district that has all women representatives. So my senator, myself, and my co-legislator are all women. We're the only one in the whole state. I think that might change this next election, and I certainly hope so. We also have a really dynamic young woman that's running for my seat, and I'll be looking forward to working with her in the Senate and the House. I was elected in 2014, and then again in I was elected in 2016 and then elected in 2018 again. And when I'm not there at the legislature, I'm a library media specialist in Robbinsdale. So I've been doing double duty these last couple of weeks, getting ready for this distance learning. And we're talking about voting and representation and influences of people all around us that bring us into this circle. I can say that my dad certainly was influential with me too. He encouraged me to get involved in youth and government when I was in high school. So if you are a high school student, think about getting a youth and government program through the YMCA going, or if there is one in your building, please take advantage of it. It's a great introduction to the legislature and politics, and it was a good project for me to do, and it took me 20 some years to follow up on that. So very excited to be running again and to see the other candidates that are running. I'm really sorry that I won't be in the House again with Representative Becker-Finn and Heather and all of these other incredible candidates that you'll be hearing from in a minute. But the really good thing is now they can work with me in the Senate. They know that they have an ally just down the hall. So when they're ready to put their bills together, they can bring them to me, and I'm happy to work with them. So we're building that strong connection, that strong partnership. Somebody else that really influenced me as I was running was the very first Native American to be elected in the House of Representatives. And that was a woman who was there for a number of years, and Susan, oh my gosh, Susan, what was her last name? Oh my gosh, I totally forgot. But she talked to me early on before I started to run, and she encouraged me. She told me her story, and she reminded me how important it is that we are representing in all levels of government. And then, of course, Susan Allen, thank you. Susan Allen, and she was there in the House by herself for a number of years, and it was very solitary. It was really hard for her to really be listened to or taken seriously. And then, of course, Peggy Flanagan joined her, and then 2 years later, Becker-Finn and I were able to join join them as well. And we created the very first Native American caucus in the House of Representatives. And with Susan retiring and Peggy now in the governor's, lieutenant governor's seat, I'm moving to the Senate. I am so thankful that there are other natives that are stepping up to fill those seats so that we're building that power, we're building that resistance, and looking forward to all the good things that we can do for Indian country. So representation really does matter. If you are looking at your representatives and they are not listening to your community or are not legislating in ways that benefit not just our Indigenous, our Native folks, but the whole community as a whole, then it's time to look for different ways to bring the voice of the communities out. And it's our responsibility. So hopefully you have a plan for November 3rd. Somebody is going to get you to the polls, or you're going to get somebody to the polls, or you can vote early. Don't forget, October 19th is the first day that we can actually go into the polls, vote early. So if you have the opportunity to do it early, please do that so that we're not jamming things up at the end of on November 3rd, and it's going to take days to count those ballots. So
with the last minute you have here, can you let everybody know how we can support you? And also,
sure.
In 30 seconds, tell us about one of the bills that you're most proud of that we talk about all the time, and everybody can hear all across Minnesota and Turtle Island, please.
So I was able to create a task force to study the missing and murdered Indigenous women's task force here in Minnesota, and we got it passed in 2 years. It was just fabulous. We're working hard on it. We'll have a report coming up in December. But I was also able to secure funding for our 4 BIE schools so that they are on equal footing with all of our other students here in Minnesota, and we don't have to go back every 2 years. I was able to work on jurisdictional issues so that the police in Prairie Island don't have to be tied to their county sheriff. I was able to pass so that there was a disconnection between funds for women, Native women who were wanted to get screened for breast cancer. We were able to remove that barrier. So if somebody's not there to do these things, they don't get done. And that's why it's so important that we continue to fill those seats so that they hear the voice and they have somebody to fight for those. If you want to reach out to me, you can go to my website. It's marykunesh.com. Right now, we're down to phone banking. I've got packets of postcards if you want to send out a postcard and ask my neighbors to vote for me. But it's been a different kind of a campaign, but I think we're going to persevere, and I can't wait to get down the hall to the Senate and continue the good work that we've been doing.
Oh, wow. Peeny Gigi for being on, Mary Kunesh, and really thank you for all you do and all you've done for Native Roots Radio in the state of Minnesota and your district. Really, we can't wait to see you as a senator. Call you Senator Mary Kunesh.
It's been an unbelievable opportunity. I'm telling you, it's like something I never would have imagined. So I feel very blessed.
Awesome. Peeny Gigi for being on. Wow, Nancy, we just, the hits keep going and going here. You're on mute right now, Nance. You're still on mute. But, I always feel like I should get like a T-shirt that says you're on mute. So I'm wondering if, Nancy, if you could introduce the next guest.
Sure. I hope I'm off mute. And I just wanted to say Mary is a perfect example why we need to vote, because it's her voice that can bring those bills and create new laws that help protect our people. So yes, it's just awesome to have her. And I am not sure who would our next guest would be. I think it might be Alan.
No, it's Gaylene.
Oh, Gaylene. Yes, Gaylene. I always slaughter her last name. It's like Spolarich or something, but she is from Turtle Mountain, North Dakota, and she actually is running for Minnesota Senate 10B, or Minnesota House 10B, excuse me. And she is a foster mom and has a rounded background and a big heart. So welcome, Gaylene.
Anine, bonjour. I'm Gaylene Spolarich, and I'm really happy to be able to share a little bit about myself here on the radio show to your listeners. As Nancy said, I am from the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa. My parents migrated us here many, many years ago. Let's say like 60, and then maybe you might guess how old I am. But Dad wanted a different life for his children, so he migrated us here to a hobby farm 3 miles from where I live. And that was, there were 9, so that meant that we needed to grow our own food and feed all of the mouths, because that was a total of 11 of us. And I'm very grateful for that upbringing, because I am now able to instill that into my children, my grown children, my grandchildren, and now my permanent guardianship children that will spend their childhood with us until they're old enough to move away. So again, Gaylene Spolarich, Indigenous mother of 3 grown children, grandmother of 5 children, and a caregiver of a sibling group that came into our home as foster children. And we now have permanent guardianship of them, as I said earlier. And I'm running for House District 10B. I've worked in local government as a council member and a city clerk. I've also worked in tribal government for a majority of my career. I'm going to say that I've spent 20 plus years working with tribes, and specifically Mille for 20 plus years, currently as an early education coordinator. I'm the fiscal coordinator, and we have we've been through some pretty tough times recently with all of this COVID, and we continued, fortunately, we're able to continue to make sure that children and families were still receiving supplies and food, because that's just what we do. I want to go back to the fact that, yes, these are really tough times, and day-to-day activities have changed dramatically. I have, like I said, the four sibling children in our care, and we have chosen to do the long distance learning because my husband is an insulin dependent diabetic, and we don't want to risk the health of anyone. So I know firsthand how important it is for affordable health care and pharmaceuticals. And our politicians aren't really working hard enough to make sure that all of those needs are being met. And we're doing the long distance learning. We'll get back to that. Internet. We have 4 devices in this house that every day, it's a battle for them all to be streaming and being in their classrooms. That needs to be addressed. We're rural Minnesota. Who knows how long we're going to have to deal with COVID. We need to make sure that our internet is accessible and we have options, because currently where I live, I have one provider that I have been on the phone every week to sort things out, and we're still working on it. This is week number 4. So we'll see how that all goes. But it's been amazing just to see how many American Indian brave people have stepped up to get into office. I think that is so amazing, and I'm so excited because we need to help our lieutenant governor. She needs our help. And were there like 12 that I counted of folks that have stepped up. that really need to step up, because it's time for us to have a really loud voice in the state. So many things just don't get addressed or fixed because we're the voice that they don't hear from. So it's so important for us to step up. And I'm also excited to say that I know some other folks that are getting interviewed that stepped up because they said, if Gaylene can run for office, I can run for office. So I'm like, hey, if I motivated anybody, I'm excited about that, because we need to win this race. We need to motivate everyone to get out there and vote. And our government affairs, I know from Mille Expand, is actively always out there getting our people to get out and vote, because I see this as an opportunity for Indian country to speak up loud and clear and make a huge difference for all of us that are out there running this race, and get us in there, because we need to be in there. I believe it's never too late to speak up and work hard for the things we value, and that's why it's time. We need a voice. We need to step up, and I'm really proud of everyone that has stepped up.
Well, Peeny Gigi for being on and speaking your truth. Really excited to have. We'll see you in St. Paul too. Do you have any last words? I was going to ask you a question, but we're running a little short on time. Do you have any last words before we let you go?
Just that we need to win this race, motivate everyone to get out and vote, talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors. This is important, because where this country is going right now, we need to make some really big difference and change. We're not headed in the right direction.
Wow, Peeny Gigi for being on, Gaylene. And as you can see right down there, there's your website to give some help and donations, and also what's going on with phone banking and such. So there it is right there, www.spolarich10d.com. Thank you so much for being on, and we'll see you in St. Paul. Wow, that was awesome, Nance. What do you think of that? That's crazy. You're muted again. I'll see if I can. I just unmuted you too. Cool. Wow.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. It's always nice to talk. Yeah, Gaylene, she comes with a warm heart, and she also gives us a reminder that, when we see women like her and Peggy and running for office and holding these seats, that reminds us that we have that same power, and we can do that just like they can. And so, yes, they serve as role models for not just myself, but for the youth. And we got to start showing up. And in the meantime, we got to vote for them 2020 and build on 2022 and 2024.
Yeah, and
so get ready, folks.
like to say too, this election is not like a marriage. I love that story. It's not a marriage. It's getting to somebody. It's like it's a bus ride. You get on the bus and you get close to where you got to go. And then you start moving your people closer to where you want them to be. So that's all. Get out there. We know we've registered. I should say Nancy's registered a lot of people in her group, Rock the Vote Native Style. But not only register, but vote and have a plan. And hey, I'm really excited, Nancy, right now to have Alan Roy. First of all, the first male back on the show. We got all females, which is a good thing. But we're going to bring Alan on, and I believe Alan is a person that could build bridges, because he's up there in the deep north wrestling with alligators, and and I really appreciate Alan. What about you, Nancy? Why don't you introduce Alan?
Sure. Alan Roy is from White Earth, and he's actually the Secretary Treasurer, and he is running for State Senate 2A, and I hope I got that right, because there's so many great candidates and I can confuse them. But yeah, welcome, Alan.
Well, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it, guys. We are. I like the format you guys got here. This is really cool. I like the technology you guys are using. It's really awesome. Thanks for having us on. I'm running for state senate in Senate District 2 here in Minnesota, and we're very, very close. We're just a few weeks away until the election, and just as Nancy was talking about, there's a lot of get out the vote efforts being happening across the whole state of Minnesota. And you have folks down in Minneapolis, Leech Lake, White Earth, Red Lake, all across the state that are working on this really hard issue of making sure that folks get registered and folks get to go out and vote. And as Robert just said, you know, that's the first time I've heard that, so I wrote it down. Was that elections are not like a marriage. I like that analogy. I think that's an accurate description of how we should treat these elections. Is that we try to get the right people there, and then, you know, we try to get them heading in the right direction as well. So I think that's really cool. I also do want to remind folks of the census. If you haven't done the census, that's really important, especially for Indian country. You want to make sure that folks get into that. And the historic occasion of the election this year. You got Joe Biden, you got Donald Trump, you've got a lot of folks that are running. Certainly, I'm a moderate Democrat, so I like to listen to all sides of the story. I like to see where things are at and try to pass some meaningful legislation. But ultimately, what I'm doing this for is for my family and for my children and for my people and for the Minnesotans that live in this area and across the whole state of Minnesota. I think we need a little bit more balance. I think we need to make sure that we're passing good laws to help people, not hurt people. And I hope to be that person. Again, like I said, I was just this, what was it the other day? I was at a DFL pop-up shop up in Becker County. And that I brought my daughter there, and she has been by my side since day one. When I ran for tribal council, she was knocking on doors with me. Certainly, we're not knocking on doors now, but when we do get to go to some socially distanced events, and she likes to come along, she likes to tag along with me and just see things, take pictures, play with pumpkins, and all that. And so I know she's going to be looking at these days as she gets older, and when she decides to run for office, certainly she'll be looking back on these memories, and that's something that we have that's very special together.
Well, you know, one of the things I'd like to ask you with your time remaining is, how can we speak to people that maybe don't feel that you are like as close to what they want you to be? And I know there's a lot of going back and forth, and I want to give you an opportunity to speak to those people that may not truly believe what you stand for and what you're doing. So I'd really like to do that.
Well, there's no perfect candidate out there. All I can say is that you can judge folks based upon their decisions, right? And so instead of judging it based upon he said or she said, a lot of that happens in Indian country. A lot, let me tell you. And a lot of people don't speak about truth or facts. They think they have the facts. They don't have the facts. And if they claim to have facts, you might want to ask them, well, where's your proof? 9 times out of 10, they don't have any proof. And so what I mean to say is there's no perfect candidate. I'm willing to sit down and meet with anyone and everyone, and we can work towards a common objective. And that's the type of leadership we need in the Senate. We don't need puppets. We don't need people that are going to do exactly what you tell them to do, because then how can they lead effectively and listen to all the issues and all the sides of a story? And so that's the type of leadership that I have. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think, you know, just to finish up what I was saying is that it's not a marriage. It's like a bus ride, and you get on the bus and you get as close as you can when you're voting, and then talk to the people. So thank you so much, Alan. And as you know, if you don't know, I support Alan and I've endorsed Alan. So I just wanted to have my opportunity to say something about that.
Thank you, Robert. Thanks for having us on.
Awesome. Nancy, any final question or thought? Wait, let me unmute you. I got control. Go ahead.
All right. What I appreciate about Alan is that he made a good point there. There's not a perfect candidate, and sometimes we have to agree to disagree and work towards a common goal. And that's what, I had opportunity to work with Alan with some Minnesota Chippewa tribe, and he has stepped out of his comfort zone to make sure that, people can be heard. So good luck, Alan, and we appreciate the work you do.
Oh,
Thanks, guys.
all right. Peeny Gigi, thank you for being on. This is awesome. Wow, awesome. So
Right.
I'm wondering, Nancy, if you could talk a little bit about what the little facts about the county rep duties and interesting rep facts, and then we're going to have our next guest on in just a moment here. So do you have
Right.
any? Go ahead.
So we have our county commissioners up and our city council people. So they kind of play two different roles. One's obviously within the city, and then we got our wards in our districts, that make up our county and our city. So they have different roles, and some will oversee the police, the city does, and the commissioners oversee, the sheriff's department. So there's different relationships that we have to understand. So when we see our relatives or people that align with our values, and our beliefs, we really need to understand what their roles are and how it is important to vote them in office. And so again, we have our commissioners up next, and I believe we have Mr. Harrington.
Yes, we do. Why don't you introduce him? There you go.
Right.
Please.
Bradley Harrington is from Mille, and he is the former, I want to say, appointed liaison for the Minnesota. I just drew a blank. Brad, you're gonna have to help me here. DNR.
I am the current tribal liaison for the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources.
Right. Well, welcome.
Ani.
Peeny Gigi for being on. We'd love to have you speak your truth for a couple minutes, and then if we have time, we'll ask you a quick, harmless question. So go ahead, Bradley. The floor is yours.
All right, wonderful. Miigwech for having me on, and I like talking about how I got to this point. Looking back, it's something that I can't believe I did. And 3 years ago, 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, I never would have thought that I would have been doing this. But coming from addiction and criminality, jails, treatments, and prisons, to now having the confidence and the capability and opportunity to step forward and lead people of an area to hopefully what would be a better future. I'm greatly honored for that. I'm a new voter. Just a couple years ago, I got off parole and I voted for the first time, and all the emotions that came with that. I was scared, apprehensive. I thought my voice didn't count. What I did didn't matter. But after I went through with it and I reflected on it some more, I was like, I just contributed to a whole nation's decision-making process, and I felt accomplished and contributing. And yeah, so county commissioner, I'm running for that. It's it's one of the overlooked offices that has some real powerful authority. It was strong enough to reverse a law enforcement agreement with my tribe here at Mille, and it created chaos in my community. That's how strong this seemingly overlooked office is. So I'm here not just to represent my people. My district basically follows the outline of the 1855 reservation, but also the other people that I met while learning more about American government systems and municipalities, and then just social justice in a rural community.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think one of the questions, we know the inspiration, but what would the first thing you do when you get elected in office? What would be the first thing you'd want to do?
All right, yeah. So what I tell people when I get elected in the office, I'm going to be outvoted. On everything. I can't come in here promising that I'm going to get this passed or I'm going to get that passed. This ordinance is going through, this resolution. I'm going to be outvoted. So I'm going to view my position there as kind of like the very, very tip of the spearhead, to where that very tip makes way for the rest. So how does that work in a board with people? I'm going to be there. I'm going to have to constantly educate. I'm going to have to constantly be a consistent voice, bringing in the other perspective. And I would hope that the other board members, they're leaders too. They're elevated to a level of hierarchy within a region. I hope that they're open enough to understand that, and they not be so closed off about it. So that's how I view my term.
Awesome. Nancy, I unmuted you. Do you have a quick question?
Well,
Or statement?
I don't have a question, but one thing I could say about Bradley, he's a true inspiration of turning our lives around. And I just want to know that, the relatives that are out there listening tonight, that take a good look at what Brad has to offer in the stories that he tells and why he shows up. And that's all the more reason that we have to get out and vote, because people can bring change, not just individually, but to the big stage. And I think he's very courageous for turning his life around and sharing the truths about the path he chose and where he's at today. So thank you, Bradley, for sharing your story in the most truthful way. We appreciate it.
Miigwech.
How about we have a sign in the back, but how about for our radio audience, how can we support you, and how can I get that guitar that you have in the back? But looks like we got it up there. Bradley, District 5 County Commissioner, donate to Bradley's campaign. It's a paypal.me/HARR4MLCCOMMISHB5. That was a mouthful, but it's right there on the screen for anyone that wants to donate. Bradley, you're an inspiration, really, and we have to do a longer interview with you because you have a beautiful story of courage.
Oh, miigwech.
Thank you so much for being on.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Amazing.
He is.
Amazing. And now we got another amazing person that's up for re-election coming on. And I see spirits go walking by you every once in a while.
Yep.
Is you okay there, Nancy?
I am. It's up north here, and we, there's good vibes all around us up here. So, and you're seeing them. So, yeah, I think we have another good vibe coming up, don't we?
Absolutely. And I want you to introduce Tim, because I had Tim on Native Roots Radio, or maybe it was Pilots Progressive Party, and there was stuff going on, and I had to learn how to say Beltrami.
Yeah.
Beltrami. I had to learn how to say that, and I had Tim on the show because there was some weird stuff going on there about immigrants that he and one other person were the only one voting against it. But go ahead, Nancy. Why don't you introduce Tim?
Right. Tim Sumner is from Red Lake Nation, and he's the incumbent for Beltrami County Commissioner District 4. Did I get that right, Tim? I hope so. I always screw those numbers up. But yes, Tim has stepped out of his comfort zone and given some voice to our people up here. And we need all those people in his district, all those Red Lakers, to show up and keep them in that seat, because without people in these local seats, we're not being heard. So again, Tim Sumner from Red Lake, incumbent for Beltrami County, and it's welcome.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Robert, for this opportunity to be here and join you guys. It's been a great show so far, and I have tremendous amount of respect for the guests that have spoken already, and a lot of them are my heroes. So I mean, it's good to be among the great company.
Cool. So I would love to ask you a question. How did it feel when that happened up there? about our immigrant brothers and sisters, our relatives. I mean, the big picture was more of a statement rather than really we have tons of immigrants moving into your area. Could you talk a little bit about what happened up there?
Well, actually, I mean, I think there was a lot of emotions that I felt that evening. I was upset and angry, and at the same time, I was um, saddened, to see the direction that our county is going. Although that it's been that way for a number of years, but I'm hopeful that with more people um, seeking office, that we'll actually be able to address some of these concerns. I think the thing with that refugees vote, it was a political statement. I think this year a lot of political issues came before the board. Um, Although we were supposed to be nonpartisan, a lot of these political issues were presented and really kind of divided a lot of our community. So I'm thankful the federal judge halted that decision, and I mean, I think it really put really put Beltrami on the map, and there's a lot of great things, in Beltrami, but there's still a lot of work to be uh, improved. But yeah, so
Yeah. Well, I know Nancy speaks. I'm going to unmute Nancy right now. I know Nancy speaks so highly of you, and I'd like Nancy to ask a question or make a statement. Go ahead, Nancy.
Right. So Tim, I attend those meetings, and what we see is being shut down by the chair of the Beltrami County Commissioners Board. And if reelected, what steps would you take to work towards racial and environmental justice within the Beltrami County Commissioners Board? Because right now we have that barrier, and what would it take for the people to help support that as well?
well, actually, I'm hopeful that I am reelected. I'm confident, but I never take it for granted. I'm looking for Red Lakers to come out and support me and high numbers again. But to address the racial barriers at the county, I think we have an opportunity coming up here with a new county administrator. And then from there, I'm hopeful that my fellow colleague Reed Olson will be reelected as well, because he will be board chair next year, and then the year after that, I will be. So we'll have two good years, to really set some policies in place, opposed to what was going on, the past 2 years with Commissioner Lukacic and Commissioner Gosvick. So, I think that the tide is starting, to change, and just got to make sure that we, get out there and support Commissioner Olson, because he was the other one that voted against the refugee thing. So I mean, oftentimes, it's always a 3-2 vote on the county board. So I mean, if either Reed or I lose, it's going to be a 4-1, and and it's going to be hard to set any policies. So I appreciate Nancy coming to the meeting. I mean, I think she really holds the elected officials accountable, and make sure that that they're accountable, and hold their feet to the fire. So I appreciate Nancy and everything that she's doing up here in Beltrami and northern Minnesota.
Well, we
Right,
really
and I
appreciate.
think
Go ahead, Nan. Sorry.
Yeah, so I just wanted to reflect on what Tim was saying about Mr. Reed Olson is that those are those candidates that align with us. And so when we can support candidates like Tim and get people to show up to vote for in Reed's election, there's balance in that vote, and if we don't show up, we unfortunately, our voices will be drowned out. And I think, with Tim and Reed being on board, it's what we need to think about in 2022, who's going to be the next candidate so we can get in with Tim and Reed and change that from 3 to 2. So again, it's always just supporting people like Tim and get out there and vote, folks.
Absolutely. Any last words, Tim, before we let you go? Like a website? I know our crew has been doing a great job of popping up information. We have Joey and Oglamog doing a great stuff here, popping stuff on the screen. But can you give a website or any way we can support you?
Actually, my county Facebook page is Tim Sumner, Beltrami, County Commissioner, District 4. And as for donations, I appreciate them, but I would much rather they go to other candidates that are in maybe tighter races than myself. So I would encourage you to donate to them. Red Lake is a powerhouse when it comes to the native vote. I grew up in a community of Obashing, and they have the highest turnout in statistics in anywhere. It's a small community, but they get out and vote 97, 98% of the time. So I mean, and it's all Democrat. So there's a few Republicans in there, but I mean, yeah. So I mean, Red Lake is really aware of our voting power. So I encourage everybody to get out and vote.
Is there a score of the Vikings game right now?
Actually, I turned it off. Last time I checked, it was 10-0. So
we're winning, right?
Hopefully, we're still winning. And by the way, I really do. I believe. I had the same thoughts as Heather Keeler. I thought you had a Vikings ribbon shirt.
Yeah. Well, I thought the game was over, so when the symposium's over, I'll have to check it out. But yeah, Tim, your heart speaks and soars whenever we talk to you, being selfless like you are, and I think you're just a all-around good person, and I'm really really happy to have gotten to know you virtually through Nancy and through our shows and all the work that you do. So I want to just say, Peeny Gigi, thank you so much for being on and sharing your story.
Yeah, miigwech for this opportunity. Like I said, I mean, I think this is a one of a kind thing going on tonight, and it's great to see so many Native candidates stepping up. It's awesome.
It's amazing, and thank Peeny Gigi for being on. Wow, thank you so much, Tim.
Thank you.
Oh. Wow, that's just awesome.
Right. And Tim brings that collective power messaging. I got a break for Red Lake, but they're really rocking those voter registrations. And so White Earth and Leech Lake, if you're out there, let's get out and get registered to vote, because it's that collective power that keep people like Tim in the office. So yeah.
Right. Hey, we want to give a shout out to this show is called Making Voting a Tradition. We want to give a shout out to the American Indian OIC for supporting this show tonight. Just amazing what people are doing all around Turtle Island with the elections, with COVID, with people helping their tribes and reaching out to people. We just, our way is like, you come to my house, Nancy, we feed you, and people are feeding our heart now, and it's just been a beautiful thing this last election. And I think there's more than 12 people out there. There's always, every once in a while, some people are popping up.
Right, because we just started with a handful in the beginning, and I did a little research, or the people told me about all these other great people, and I just hope we leave room, and I know there's lots of room for more people to run. So tonight should inspire our listeners out there to start thinking about 2022, the midterms, and 2024, because when November 4th comes, our work isn't done, Robert. We have to get ready for those. We have to educate people on the primary elections and why those are important, because if we're not voting primary, we're not moving our relatives to the November 3rd ticket. And so we have to start educating ourselves and understand how all these levels of government work as well, so we can be key players at the table.
Exactly. I just have a quick question before we bring our next guest on to you. So I just got some coffee in the mail with some hand sanitizers from way up in the deep north. And I'm wondering, don't they mail hoodies and T-shirts? Hey.
I'm wearing it.
You're wearing my T-shirt.
No, I'm just kidding.
Let's bring on Audrey Thayer. We've been waiting for Audrey because now the show can start. All right, Audrey, welcome.
Welcome and good evening. How are you?
We're doing great. Peeny Gigi for that coffee.
Okay, I saw that you had gotten it, so that's good news. And I appreciate both of you, Nancy and Robert and Ogama, for all the work that goes on with getting this show up. And what a lineup of candidates. I think that is awesome. So it is winding down. We are heading into it. I had just let someone know to get some more flyers ordered, door hangers that just say "Get out the vote," to do one more run in our community, because I'm after. I don't care how they vote. I just want to see the numbers in our ward of people voting. It gets to be that important to me. And I've been loving being out in community, safely masked up, but people come out and we talk. And that has been exciting, because I didn't expect to see that happen, where people would, come running out their doors and say, Audrey, and that's been really, really exciting. So, I've been busy in between that time reading a lot of policies, because the Bemidji City Council is about policy, how not to micromanage programs, but to be set policy. And so I've been reading carefully about that. We have a charter commission. We have the mayor, the council, the charter commission for our local governments. I've been reading the charter commission and all the responsibilities and what we can and cannot do, because that's all important. So I don't want to make any mistakes. As I get sworn into office, I'm sure I will, and that is okay. I'm still trying to figure out how to help neighbors with dogs that are running loose in the neighborhood, because that was complaints in community and accessibility. We have the most diverse Ward 1, and I'm very excited because it's a transient ward, so there's a lot of different people in there. And I serve not only the Indian community, but I serve everybody. So that, it's a little different when you're looking at a woman running out in the community trying to get a vote. You've also got to convince them that you are sincere in who you are. And in today's age, that shouldn't have to happen. That women are questioned if we are qualified enough to run and sit on a place in government. And so that piece just totally frustrates me. But on the other hand, you look at the other hand, and I'm thinking about all the really awesome people I'm meeting. And yes, that purple shirt reminds me of the Vikings. And Tim had a purple shirt on, and of course, I wear green. So, I grew up in Wisconsin, so I wear green, because that's green with a little yellow cheese thing on my head. But
cool point.
I have so many people to thank. Whether I win or lose, I have so many people to thank in community. I am humbled by the amount of people that I have had interaction with over the last few months. It's amazing. And I owe all of them a deep amount of gratitude. I wasn't a candidate that raised money from big business or small businesses. I raised money from the people. And those little $5 checks and that, a $20 bill mattered. It matters because it meant that someone cared enough to help me with the campaign. So it's been quite an experience. We'll see how it goes on November 3rd. I'm already just preparing to be sworn in.
Awesome. I was excited to see the Minnesota Native DFLs endorse you just recently. Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, thanks to Tim Sumner, I was rolling that around because we are nonpartisan. The city council up here and the county board is nonpartisan, so I didn't want to affiliate with any of the parties because I truly am going to be the voice for the people. So if there's a Republican that says, hey, I'm a Republican, I don't care. I was walking up to the doors with, where there was the MN3 signs and the Trump and Pence signs in the yards in Ward 1. I don't care. I'm there to serve the people. Yes, I'm Indigenous. Yes, I'm enrolled at the White Earth Reservation. Obviously, I care about our people, and have that commitment, and standing in where I'm at was for our people. I didn't run for me or my family. I ran and am running for the people. I want to set that groundwork, the path, remove those stones and the boulders and the rocks for our people and help them. And so I intend to continue to be in community. After elected, I'm going to be walking around in community. It's going to be like my backyard. And I've forewarned Ward 1 people that I cannot operate without them. So that is truly why. So the Native endorsement, I'm grateful. But Tim Sumner had a lot to do with that. I had to talk with him, and I just had to get his advice. And he explained to me, we do run nonpartisan. But it does. I aligned with all the values of both 350 and Native People's Caucus. Those values are my values. That's who I am, both from 350 and Native People's Caucus. So I filled it out and I got endorsed. So I'm very grateful for that. And just to the whole process of incorporating policies, and of course, one of the strategic plans that is due to be reviewed is the Bemidji Police Department. So I'm already mind mapping and working at how to save money and what can we do to meet community needs to stop and how to change perceptions, because the Bemidji City Police Department has gotten dumped on for the Beltrami County jail incidences. People could not sort out what government meant, what city meant, what county meant, what municipalities mean, what town boards mean, and that is all stuff that our people will need to know. And so I appreciated the speakers tonight. And there was, the next time around, I want to just see like all kinds of people who've not been heard running for office, and that is my wish and desire. And of course, I start mentoring right after I get sworn in. I'll be looking for candidates that want to run. We have and I have another ward that's right next to me that she's dear. She's very good on the council, but if there's a Native that wants to run against her, let's do that. In any of those wards, I'm just not afraid of that, even though we do have to have our relationships. And I'm grateful for Commissioner Reed. That is my commissioner. He has been there with good advice. And of course, Tim Sumner has been just holding me through some of this. I've had some, I get excited and, maybe overspeak, but Tim is very, very logical, and that helps me.
Well, I wanted to say thank you for being on, and I also want to give Nancy a quick opportunity to speak her truth, because I know Nancy really loves and respects you. So, thank you, Audrey, for the coffee and all you're doing for your people.
Right. And you know what I really appreciate about Audrey is that win or lose, she's always going to be there. She's a good listener, and she does take that non-partisan approach. And I think, just having her in that position and her not willing to compromise her values and her traditional way is what really makes her a great candidate. So we appreciate you, Audrey, and good luck in your campaign.
Thank you, Nancy. And I have coffee for you. I haven't seen you. Robert gets more whiny about things, so I quickly get it in the mail to you. You've been kind, Nancy. And I also owe a pound to Dan Jourdain, and Tim Sumner, because I haven't ran into those guys yet. So I have some to get out to people yet, and I've got them stashed here.
Okay, I look forward to it. I'm a coffeeholic, so I hope it's a good one.
Peeny Gigi for being on, and we'll be talking to you soon. If not sooner than that, next Sunday's symposium, you're a regular now. So Peeny Gigi for being on.
Okay.
Right? Oh, that was awesome.
It
wow.
was.
Wow. And Audrey's inspirational in her energy and her mentorship and her, I don't know, her humanness.
She's a gem.
Yeah.
So is our next guest. He's from Red Lake, and he's running for councilor at large. And I want to welcome in Dan Jourdain, and he is young and he comes with fresh ideas and a whole lot of energy. So welcome in.
Hey, bonjour, guys. Thank you, guys, for the platform tonight. I think it's a little tough to try to top some of these candidates and some of these elected officials that are ours here. It's really inspiring to see and watch and listen to what they already done so far. Like, this is my first campaign, and sometimes I wonder about, like, why did I throw myself in this position? Why did I put myself in this position? But then, you look at some of the things that are happening in a community where the Native population is underserved and underrepresented. And a lot of these things, we need to stand up and we need to tell people how important elections are, not only on a federal level, a state level, but the local level. So right now I'm running for councilor at large in Bemidji, which is all wards in Bemidji. It's essentially called the junior mayor position. So I've been out there door knocking, hitting the people, and a lot of them, they're like, well, who are you voting for, Trump or Biden? And like we said, it's nonpartisan, and we try not to say, we try to word around it, because if we feel that we go in that direction, we lose a voter. So yet we focus on the city issues, and right now we have a lot of city issues, and my motto is bridging the gaps for opportunity and equality. So I'm trying to bring that to the platform here. The city of Bemidji has been really great and amazing, and in the support that we've been receiving lately. When I first thought about going into politics, I remember this old article. I was talking to my mom. It was back in April 3rd, 1969, that I found out that my grandpa was running for the mayor here in Bemidji. And there was a quote, so I had to Google it. I searched it up, and it was a quote, and it said Buckanaga. My grandpa is John Buckanaga from White Earth over there. So it said Buckanaga felt that Indians in Bemidji are continually getting a shorthand from the law in the city. And that was 51 years ago. And we look at today, it's 2020. Like, what has changed in the city? So I believe that the Native American representation on a city level is very important. We want to get out the Native vote. We want to get out everybody we can include, because we want to bridge this community together, because that is very important, not only for today, but our generations to come. We want to show people that it's possible, that anybody can get out there. You just have to believe in yourself, get out there, and share your views and values with the community. And I believe that once we bridge this community, we can all work together. We can all make this a safe and equitable place for everybody. So that's my platform I've been pushing. And like I said, I appreciate all the candidates that are here. I appreciate Native Roots Radio. You can find my link. It's on Facebook. It's Elect Dan Jourdain. And on that link, you can find a PayPal link where you can donate funds to. So we're remaining optimistic. The word in the city of Bemidji has been great so far. So we're just looking forward to November 3rd. Everybody, this is important, not only on a city level. Get out there and vote, because these politics, the decisions that are being made, we want ourselves to be included in these decisions. And that's what all of the Native candidates are trying to do, is include that model. Not only that, but these policies that we have in place don't work for everybody, and we want them to work for everybody. So that's my motto. And I've also been practicing the word Yosemite. So, we've been working on that, guys. In case it comes up anywhere, Yosemite.
It's a national park.
I think, yeah. I heard about that place a time or two.
Awesome. Well, I know we were doing a show, and I think the show happened to be the deadline of signing up to register for being a candidate. And I think you signed up in the last minute, right?
Yeah, there was a gentleman who dropped out of the race. And so July 29th, 2020 was when they decided to file, whoever wants to file for candidate at large. And then we'll have the primary November 3rd and the general in January. So it's a special election for the city of Bemidji. So we're looking at, the Native vote getting out there. So
what I was going to tell in that story is that we had people on Facebook Live Symposium, and they were so excited that you did step up. And so I wanted to say, the little that I know of you and all I've watched you in the last few months, I'm so impressed and so happy that you've stepped up. Right, Nancy?
Right. And, we don't have a voice at the table here on the local level. And I feel what the position that Dan's running for, he will bring the voice of all of those Native people in the city limits, because he represents all those people. So if we had every eligible voter in the city limits that was Native American show up and vote, this helps bring him into that position. And if we can get him and Audrey and our great ally Emily, that's already on the city council, we're starting to take a stand and win that majority vote back. So that's why it's critical we support great candidates like Mr. Jourdain and show up at the polls and vote.
Absolutely. I just got to say, last word, Daniel, before we move on. Thank you, Peeny Gigi, for being on all the shows like Rock the Boat Native Style, Pilots Progressive Party, and Native Roots Radio, and the symposium tonight.
Okay. Do I get last word?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Tim Sumner, for work that you do, Audrey Thayer as well. The local community here that we see, the support, even for people that are watching tonight and will probably watch us later, support the candidates, because hearing your word and your voice, and maybe just a thumbs up or an inbox, anything, just continue to support the candidates that are running, because it is stressful at times, and we could use that support, putting ourselves out there and door knocking and calling people. It's a big task, because we put our personal things aside just to try to get out there and be noticed and bring this transparency, bring these good values to the table. It's a lot of energy, but we're all willing to step forward and be a part of this change. You guys are also part of this change too. So November 3rd, get out and vote. It's very important that you do. And also for our new voters as well, the ones that are first time voting, this is very important. So thank you, Robert. Thank you, Nancy. And thank you for the time tonight. Chimigwich.
Peeny Gigi, thank you so much. Wow, Nancy, just amazing. I just want to tell everybody that what they're watching is a celebration of Native candidates in Minnesota. And it has been a celebration, starting out with the lieutenant governor and You know, we had a little boarder come over. Tracy Zunker stopped by, but it's been amazing. And, and we have a great candidate that's on deck right now, and I'd love you to introduce her.
Right. Well, you know, it's not just a celebration, Robert. It's a night of inspiration and empowerment. So if we show up and vote for awesome candidates like our next candidate, Liz Jaakola from Fond du Lac, she is running for Cloquet City Council, Ward 5, and she brings a breath of fresh air. And welcome, Liz.
Oh, bonjour. Bonjour, Nindwe Maganidok. Netana Gamakoy Nindijanakaz, Magizi Nindodim. Nagaji Wanong Nindon Jaba. And thank you, Robert and Nancy, for having me here. And my English name is Liz Jaakola, and I'm running for Cloquet City Council. Well, I took Bradley's hint and put my sign in the background.
It looks good, but I don't know if I like the colors. Oh.
So, yeah, I'm running for City Council, and I'm a Fond du Lac band member. I've been living here on the reservation my whole life. I'm married to Jackson Ripley, who is from the Arikara Nation over in North Dakota, but he moved here and he likes it here, I guess. We have 3 kids that we raised, and I have a bonus kid with him who is 30. So we've got 30 years, 20 years, 13, and 8. We're busy parents. I'm a teacher, and I'm a musician. I've been teaching for 28 years. And, you know, being a musician and a music teacher, I trained myself to listen first and to make good decisions based on what's going on around me and act decisively. And so I now just turned 52. On my res, that makes me a baby elder. Hey. And so I thought maybe it's time for me to do some public service. And so looking around, I realized that the Cloquet City Council could use some more local leadership. And that's when I decided to throw my hat in the ring and try to make a difference that way. So I'm new to politics, but I'm not new to caring, of course. I was able to, you know, have some really good role models in my grandparents and my parents. My grandma was the first CHR for our res, community health rep, and my mom worked in Indian Ed and then for the city, and then she was the human services at our clinic for the last 30 years. And my dad is Finnish American, and he's an inventor, and so having that. You know, all of the ancestors teaching me about hard work and stick-to-itiveness. I hope that's going to help me with this campaign because I'm not, you know, used to this kind of. I'm used to talking to people, but not in terms of, you know, how to figure them out and how to figure out what we want to do together with the reservation community and the city folks, which sometimes there's been a divide there, and that's why I'm hoping to. Use my good listening skills and my creativity to inspire some new relationships so that we can find opportunities that work for everybody in the ward. I'm running for Ward 5 and to build on some relationships, you know, that historically is what built Cloquet. Cloquet was built on you know, working together, and so we can continue that. There's only been one other Fond du Lac band member on the city council. And so I feel, you know, that's important to do, you know, representation in that way. But also then some of the people in town thought that we couldn't run for city council, which I thought was interesting. I just said, why can't I run? I can vote. You know, we all can vote. And then I would spin it in a positive way. And that's one of the things that on my campaign, I found people are refreshed to have people speaking about positive relationships amidst what we're dealing in now. I can't remember what Peggy called it at the beginning of this show, something about hot mess. I thought that was funny. But you know, like doing things in a positive way. So when they say, well, you know, we don't think you can vote, I said, well, why not? You know, I said the cool thing is being a tribal member and a citizen, I can vote in all the elections, and I can, you know, also run. So that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to do my best in that way.
That's awesome. And, I really, there's another city council member in Cloquet that's Native American, correct?
Sheila Lamb, she's in Ward 2, yeah. And she and I ran in 2018. There was an open at-large seat, and Sheila wasn't sure if she was going to run for Ward 2, and I said, okay, I will if you do. And then she ran and she got in, and I was like, yeah, I didn't get my seat, but here I am trying again in 2020. So, and it's looking pretty good. I've got real positive feedback from everybody that I've talked to. They're ready for a change, and that's good. And so I'm hoping to get on that city council and work with Sheila. And also there's another woman, Laura Wilkinson. She did get the at-large seat last time. So we would have 3 women and 3 men on that city council, which would be fabulous.
Wow, that is fabulous. Nancy, do you have a quick statement or a question?
Well, what's so inspiring about Liz, she just told us her first run, she didn't win. But again, you don't give up. You just keep trying. And I think, Liz brings a lot of, like I mentioned earlier, fresh air and good energy. And I think we need that because she's like the face of hope because of the good energy she shares, and just like all the other guests earlier tonight, every single one of these guys are a breath of fresh air and bring so much hope. And we really need to depend on ourselves, our relatives, and even our ex-boyfriends and girlfriends to get out and vote, because these guys need our support, so yeah, let's get out and vote.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have some names, man. Yeah, and have a plan, right, Liz? I think that's really important, no matter where you live, but especially up in the deep north.
Right. Having a plan, and if you know people that maybe are not so likely to reach out to them, say, hey, do you have a plan for voting? How are you getting to the polls? Can I help you out in some way? Because we have a lot of relatives and we have a lot of pull. And it's not just, in the reservation community, like I talked about, we have relatives in the, the majority mainstream community as well. And they want to know how we're voting. They want to know how, what we think. So we can share our opinions in a positive way and, and move towards a better future together. But yeah, giving people rides is a good thing too.
Exactly. And then I want to hear more from Nancy about those ex-boyfriends she's going to take to vote.
Well, I might have a carload, but I'm single now. So, it's where I want to be. And, just creating the space tonight is just, it brings a lot of good energy. And, Liz made me think about, a lot of people are discouraged from voting right now because we've had get out the native vote, and we've showed up, we voted, we flipped seats, but our words continue to fall on deaf ears. But what makes the difference in this election, we got people that look like us running for office, and they're literally bringing our voices to the table. And if we're not at the table, we are what's being served. So again, these candidates today are very courageous, and they're stepping out of their comfort zones to say, I'll be your voice. Just support me to get there. And that's what we need to do collectively to make sure that our voices are brought to the table and we are part of the dialogue and the decision-making process. So again, all of our relatives out there listening, encourage all your relatives, your neighbors, and all those exes to show up and vote.
All your cousins.
Bring all your cousins, she said. So yeah.
That's awesome. So, Liz, that's before we wrap this up and go to our last guest. Give us a way to support you, and a final word, please.
Oh, thanks so much for doing this, you guys. This is just so encouraging, and hearing everybody talk is inspiring. And it's so. I have a Facebook page. I'm not. I don't have a website or nothing. So my Facebook page is Liz Jaakola for Ward 5, and there's a link on there to get to a PayPal. I need some teenagers on my team to help with social media. But my sign, it's blue and yellow, by the way, Rob. It's not green. It just looks like that in this light. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whoop.
It was a close one, I know. Sorry.
Well, I want to just say thank you so much, and everyone can see on the board how to support Liz on the TV board here, and so thankful that you're running, and so thank you that you've have capacity to show up to these shows that we have with Nancy and I with Rock the Vote Native Style and Pilots Progressive Party. We're just so happy to have you on and being able to support you and see you in a good way.
Oh, I'm grateful. Thank you. Like this morning, I was down at the Capitol with Sharon Day doing her raising of this tree of the future, tree of hope, tree of life. And then I knew I had to get home so I could get on the Facebook with you guys. So thank you. Miigwech.
Peeny Gigi. Wow, thank you so much. Wow, Nancy, can you believe it? Show's winding down here, and I just want to say a few things before we get to our last guest here. And this is making voting a tradition, a celebration of our Minnesota Native candidates. And it's amazing, inspiring, and I'm just so happy that we've had space with these people, Nance.
Me too. And yeah, unfortunately, we're running down to the end of our programming tonight. And the good thing about this, some of these candidates probably didn't know each other, and I think this is a way that we can network and build that power. Because again, one of the candidates mentioned earlier, these governments, they do work together and they support each other's work. So again, we're not going to get anywhere unless we support these candidates. And we have a great candidate coming up, and her name is Dannah Thompson. She's running for the Roseville City Council. And she's not last but least, she's just as great as everybody else. So welcome to our space tonight, Dannah.
Thank you so much for having me. Bonjour.
Awesome. You got a big shout out from Jamie Becker-Finn earlier in the show. It was exciting. She was really excited to see that you were going to be on here tonight. So tell us your story. We want to know a little bit about you so we can support you and talk about you in a good way.
All right. Well, my name is Dannah Thompson. I live here in Roseville. I moved here in 2017. And then I ran my first election in 2018 for city council. I lost only by about 700 votes, so I'm trying again. Some of the things that I'm running to work towards are personal problems that I've experienced in my own family life. And so it's really important that we have people who have these experiences so that they can think of other ways to address policies. I believe that a lot of the issues facing Roseville and many of the other cities here in Minnesota are all interconnected. And I believe that I'm the candidate who really understands this and is taking a chance to address them all at the root of their problems so that we can do it effectively and save lives and just build a stronger, better community.
That's totally awesome. We do a Sunday show a lot of times over Facebook, and what I always hear from people like Ruth Buffalo, Mary Kunesh, people have run and not failed, but learned a lot and then re-ran again. So I want to really say, Peeny Gigi, thank you for doing that, because that shows who you are and the courage you have.
Yeah, my mom would definitely say that she raised me to be an Ogeechee-Daae-Quay, and I hope that I live up to that and make her proud every single day. Whatever doesn't kill us only makes us stronger, and I definitely feel that this race is way stronger than in 2018.
Wow, Nancy, what a warrior. Do you have a statement or a question?
Well, the question would be, because there's so many times that our voices have fallen on deaf ears, and it's really refreshing to find a sister like you from White Earth running for office and so far land away, and like I think Jamie Becker-Finn mentioned it earlier, we're everywhere in Minnesota, and and our words, no matter where we show up, continue to fall on deaf ears. So my question to you, how would you involve our Native relatives in the decision or in the dialogue process? How do you see that happening? Because, more oftentimes than not, we vote for candidates and believe that, they're going to, represent us. But They don't, and we're just waiting for those candidates like yourself to say, hey, I'm here, and you come to the table. How would you do that, and what would you recommend that me as a concerned constituent, what are some of the things we can do to help support you make that happen?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I'm working on is just making sure that residents of Roseville know when the meetings are and where to show up. I've already reached out to some Native residents here in Roseville because we're currently trying to change the name of Pocahontas Park, and having their voices heard is a priority of the commission who is heading that front. And so I really wanted to get people involved and send in emails and speak up that they don't like that name. But just having someone who can relate and identify and seriously take their concerns. I think that brings people to the table all the time. And that's what I'm trying to do on a broader basis as well. It's not just Natives who are being ignored here in Roseville. It's if you're a renter, if you're poor, if you're an immigrant. And I'm trying to run because I grew up with over in Northeast Minneapolis, and I went to Henry High School, and I got to know immigrant friends and students and minorities, and we all face the same problems. So I'm just showing up to be like, now's your time to be heard. This is how we do it. Let's get organized and let's make a difference.
Right.
Wow, exactly. Wow, and somebody popped up on the screen, tenacity, and I think that's your mother can be very proud of you. And we're really proud of you. Yeah, man, that it's just amazing. Don't you think, these young people coming up and stepping up?
Absolutely. I just last Sunday had a 5-year-old bring me something he drew for my campaign and said when he gets older, he wants to be president. And I'm just not used to that kind of connection with somebody. And it made me so happy. I cried a little bit. And I hope that I can continue to do that because I had Winona LaDuke when I was 12 to do that for me.
Peeny Gigi. Well, and one thing I got to just jump back is it's 2020 and we have a park named after Pocahontas.
I know it's awful. The people I know call it anything but that. They'll call it Orange Park, Acorn Park. They'll make up a name, but they understand that it's a terrible name to have nowadays. And I think the Parks Department is starting to understand that as well.
Well, thank you for speaking your truth. And we really, really are so happy to have found you because you were one that got slipped away that we didn't know about until just recently. So whatever we can do, Native Roots Radio can do, Rock the Vote can do for you, let us know. And we have your site up. It's www.dannahforcitycouncil.com. Wow, yeah, that's cool. You got that. That's a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, and everyone can go there to help find if they want to help volunteer. We're doing phone banking. We're pushing really hard right now, and we can use all the help we can get.
Wow. Any last words before we let this young warrior go?
Well, Robert, lucky us, she's our guess who's one of our guests on Tuesday.
Hey.
Yeah, so we'll get to hear more about her. And, again, these guys, every single candidate that we've heard from tonight, they are paving the way and they are bringing our voices to the table. And I can't reiterate how important it is to show up to the polls this election, because this is one of the most important elections of our lifetime right now. And they actually, Dannah mentioned, she's a voice for a lot of people that, walk in the same shoes as us. So, again, I appreciate all these candidates and finding the courage to stand for us. We appreciate you.
Yes, Peeny Gigi for being on, and we're gonna end the show here. And Peeny Gigi for being on, and we're gonna see you Tuesday. And happy Indigenous Day tomorrow to you and to everybody. So why don't we wrap this up, Nancy? And this has been an awesome time, an awesome show. And I want to talk a little bit at the end here about the people that sponsored this great show tonight. And I'm wondering if you can help me get a shout out, but I want to say American Indian OIC, they've been big. We have www.nativevote.mn.org. We have all these great places that have sponsored this evening. And it's just been awesome. it's just totally awesome of all these guests that have been on tonight.
Right. And we also want to give a big shout out to Emma Needham, who is behind the scenes tonight, creating this wonderful web design space that we hold tonight. And and a big thank you to all the candidates that made the time to show up tonight. And for all those people that took the time to register to vote, you have till Tuesday to do the paper registration. Otherwise, you'll have to register at the poll. And I also want to remind the people, Robert, because a lot of people think you need a Minnesota ID to vote. Your tribal ID serves that purpose. So if you don't have a tribal ID, you need to start working on that because you want to show up and vote. We all want you to show up and vote, Robert.
And we also want to say the event sponsor, Making Voting a Tradition. We want to give a big Peenigigi and Miigwech. There's other people that have made this possible. Dakota, they've been huge in helping us get the vote out. www.dakota.org. They've been awesome. NADKY's been huge. They are the people that are running the Franklin corridor and doing a great job for all the Native people. And look at my color matches their sign up there in the corner there. NADKY's really big. I want to give a special shout out to the people that have sponsored this show tonight and all these great candidates.
Right. And I also want to give a shout out to Minnesota Voice and Board Directions that made it possible for us to get out and get our boots on the ground and door knock and get our relatives registered to vote, because without some of the support they gave, it would be really difficult, especially during COVID. So again, when there's a lot of great people out there just understanding that this work has to be done, Robert. And when November 4th comes, the work has just begun again. So we got a future to look forward to. So it's exciting, Robert. It really is.
And we want to also give a shout out to AM 950 for running this show live, commercial free, which is a huge thing. That's a commercial station. So that's our home base for Rock the Vote Native Style and Pilots Progressive Party and Native Roots Radio. And I really want to give a big shout out for Ogama. We couldn't have done this show without her. And big shout out to you, Nancy Bolio, for all you do up in the deep north.
Well, you're welcome. And back at you too, Robert. You created all this space, and I don't know, somehow you always talk me into all these good things. And I think we're about causing some good trouble now and making a lot of good noise and supporting these candidates, supporting each other. We are that leverage when we vote these people in, and that's that collective power. So you guys remember to vote and do your census, because for every person reporting into the census, I think it's like $1,500 that community will receive, and that goes to the housing projects, the education, the healthcare, the roads, all kinds of good stuff, and our representatives, how many reps we're going to get. So that's all the more reason why we really need to take a few minutes and do the census and show up to the polls.
So I'm going to end this right now. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, Wisconsin candidate for Senate, Tricia Zunker. I want to thank Jamie Becker-Finn, Mary Kunesh, Alan Roy. I'm doing these from the top of my head. Jump in anytime, Nancy.
Tim Sumner and Dan Jourdain and Audrey Thayer and Dannah Thompson. And Gaylene Spolarich. I think I got it right that time. And then I think we might have got them all. Did we?
And then our last one, Dannah.
Yeah, I got her.
Okay, well, I'm a male, so I have.
That's your old memory.
Yeah, it's time to take a nap. I want to say rock the vote and a special Making Voting a Tradition. Peenigigi, everyone, for listening and watching, and you can see the rebroadcast on Facebook.
I got one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
We got to remind them that they can still register online, and you can show up at www.nativevote-minnesota.org and show up. and register to vote. Takes only a few minutes.
Wow, with that, we're leaving. I was just winding up. I was doing a really good job winding up. And so we want to thank everybody for listening. This will be on Facebook Live. It'll be rebroadcast on some native channels, radio shows up in the deep north. And we're really happy to be here listening to Making Voting a Tradition. Hi, Juoni, everybody. Hainapi, good night.